Just before we get started, have you seen Penny Haslam speak? She's an award-winning motivational speaker from the UK who talks about communication and confidence. To watch her fun clips, best bits and keynotes in full, just Google "watch video of Penny Haslam." Right, on with the show.
Hello, Penny here. This time on the podcast, this isn't a lecture on manners. Good morning, hello. He looked at his shoes. There's real value when people are more connected, and just starting with hello is a really good place. When you say hello to 6 people, you are happier. Why didn't you say hello to me? Today, I want to talk about the power of hello. It's actually the title of my new motivational keynote it's about the small workplace behaviours that help people feel valued, work more effectively together and build stronger and therefore more successful organisations. Now, the bit of the background to this, a client came to me and they said, "We want you to create a talk for us." And the reason why they wanted me to do this was because they'd had feedback from staff that people just weren't feeling included, and as a result, not feeling valued and not being seen. People were feeling really upset about this as well, and I think rightly so. So this was the sort of whole way through, from new recruits who'd on their first day had worked out where the toilets were and how to log on and all the rest of it. But no one had taken the time to introduce themselves. They didn't know anyone's name. All the way through to established senior leaders who'd been at the place for years, who were feeling a really dramatic loss of connection because so many people were working from home or out on the road, and they didn't know what to do about this problem. So many people were saying at this company, we're missing out on the common courtesies. People are using their phones during conversations, or they've got their phones out on the table at meetings. People aren't putting their cameras on during meetings. People aren't saying hello in the morning. Now, for someone who's made a living out of saying hello on the radio and on television, for me, it was almost like the best bit of connecting with the audience before we got into the more heavy numbers and, news, really, the business news of the day. So saying hello on television, good morning, hello, it felt like a really joyful thing to me. And I think, working with this client, it sort of triggered or reminded me of a deeply held need to communicate, which went more than communicating ideas. It was about a human connection. Now, I really had a struggle when I used to work on a radio programme, because I worked in a really, really big open plan office. And although I said hello to my team every morning and they said hello to me, and we worked as a team, we were on the same desk, we talked, we communicated. The big open plan office, no one said hello. Very, very different to the on-air sort of personalities that were there. Hello, connecting. You get them back into the open plan office and they wouldn't say boo to a goose. They really wouldn't. It was bizarre. So these were researchers, assistants, producers, senior producers and editors. Nobody was connecting. And so I sort of stroll through this open plan office of a morning on the way to my desk, which was at the far, far end. So I had to go through all these people. And it was like I wasn't there. It was like I was a ghost moving through. People would sort of actively avoid eye contact. And it wasn't just with me, by the way. It was with everybody, with each other. So I think my job was made 10 times harder, actually. So I worked on a personal finance show, but I didn't know what my other colleagues did, the broader colleagues who I didn't know their names. I was perhaps intimidated by them because they seemed so cool for school. I didn't understand how they might be able to help me either. I didn't even think about that. They might have had contacts that I could have used. They might have had suggestions for me or experiences. Also sort of cross-referencing. What are you working on? What am I working on? Oh, it's quite similar. Oh, this is different, isn't it? And just being more connected, not just for the sake of it. Also, line managers and senior leaders in that department were just as bad as everyone else. And I think they set the scene for it, that kind of too cool for school. So the head of, I can't remember what the title was, but it was like the head of all of the current affairs on radio or television. I don't know. It was somebody really super senior. I knew their name. But one day I got into a lift with them, and this is years ago. So this is how impressive it is, or how impactful it can be when someone doesn't acknowledge you. I stepped into the lift with him. It was him and me. He looked at his shoes the whole time we were together. And because I'm junior at that stage, I'm not going to turn to him and go, "Hi there, Peter, how are you?" I always wasn't able to do that. I didn't have the confidence to do that. I didn't know I could. And it was like I was a stranger on the street. But I wasn't. I was in his department. I didn't feel like I belonged. I just turned up and did the work. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. And I think I felt a bit lost. And I'll bet I'm not the only one. I'll bet I'm not the only person. It might be that you've worked in that environment where you've really felt it. Now, people often complain about colleagues not having their cameras on for Teams calls. And yes, it is a bit like turning up at a meeting in person with a paper bag on your head. I will give you that. But, this is how we are right now, okay? Or they tell me that they feel out of the loop because they have only ever worked from home. They've only just started this job. They're new in post. They've been at it for a year and they've never actually met a colleague, or not all of their colleagues. So it's a very different way of working these days. And obviously we've got the distraction of technology. This guy in a lift, we didn't have any of that. There was no excuse. It was just culturally inappropriate to be friendly. And I think that's a really really bad thing, really. And it was a sore point for me. So, what we're talking about is not manners. We're talking about, yes, courtesy, but that is also respect, isn't it? So maybe putting your phone away when you're in a meeting, or not looking at it like a twitchy addict, because we are addicted to our phones, let's face it. So there's courtesy and respect, right? There's also connection, which is really important. And that connection is really about that, what I was talking about your job being made 10 times harder. Like, by not knowing what's going on, you feel out of the loop, sure. But also it's about career advancement, if we're going to be, brutal about it. Career advancement, getting to know other people, not just your immediate team. Now, you might have been part of your immediate team for ages and you might not see the need to connect with other people, to say hello, to make the effort, discretionary effort to get to know someone even a little bit. You might not see the point right now, but there will come a time when you'll need that information, or it might be good to have that network, even if it's a sort of gentle one where people just know who you are and that you're quite friendly. And also the big one for me is that we're looking at commercial sense. So in the working of this new keynote, I realised that there is a commercial argument, a commercial imperative to set into place these entirely free resources which are connecting humans with each other. So being more efficient, more effective when knowledge is shared. And so those bigger goals as well, those objectives, the company purpose, can be known and understood when more people connect and understand each other. So really it's about plugging in to what's going on. And although all of that is invisible, it can't be measured, it is highly desirable in organisations. Gallup did this study, I think last year. When you say hello to 6 people, you are happier at work, at home, and you're physically and you're financially better off, or you feel physically and financially better off, right? So the feelings of well-being. So this is the Gallup National Health and Wellbeing Index, noticing that when we say hello to 6 people, not 3, not 2, not 17, 6 people, our well-being goes from 51%, where we never say hello to anyone, to 64% just by saying hello. So what's going on in your head when you're doing this stuff? Sometimes what's going on in people's heads is a I'm not going to say hello because I've tried and they never say hello back, so I'm not going to bother. And actually saying hello and letting it go is really key to this. So my mum, for example, bless her, she kind of thinks the world evolves around her to a degree. She's a bit Hyacinth Bouquet from Keeping Up Appearances, you know, that TV show. So we'll be out on a dog walk and we won't, someone won't say hello to us, even though she said hello to them. Hello, good morning. And she likes that. And fair enough, she likes it. But sometimes they don't respond. Oh, that really gets her goat. Oh, how dare they? How rude. What a rude young man. And I'm like, Mum, do you know what? Just put your feet in their shoes for a minute. And it might be that something really difficult is going on for them at the moment. They might have something really crappy happen that morning. They might be concentrating on something or thinking about something else, or they might be miles away, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So say hello, let it go. So thinking about what's going on inside for you about the whole human connection thing. I'd love to tap into my old boss's head. Like, why didn't you say hello to me? Not that I'm hanging on to this. You should let it go. Say hello. Don't say hello in the lift and let it go, right? But maybe I think he was absolutely shy. He barely did eye contact. How he got to where he got to, I have no idea. But anyway, so what's going on inside your head? And then another way of approaching this is not just saying hello, because this is just, that'll just be endless. Hi. And for some contexts, that might just be overkill, because it might be that you only work with 3 people. I get that. So maybe thinking about a coffee strategy. This is step 1. Basically, it's about connecting with others and building your network. Write a list of 10 people for whom it would be good for you to know, or for them to know you. You just want to be a bit nosy about them, a bit curious about the work that they do, the projects that they've run or they've been part of, or their career advancement, or the technology they've adopted, and have a question that you could go to them to ask and be really specific about that. Now, this is especially important, I think, for this human connection if you are remote working or not in an office regularly. Perhaps you're out on the road or in the field, so that discretionary effort is required. And, why not? You get to know people better and vice versa. So it's not small talk. It's actually social recognition that you're just being intentional about. You might be manufacturing it as well. Now, we're all taught, aren't we, that we should make friends, and friends are kind of organically, they come to us, or we go to them, and we're sort of naturally drawn to people. Well, I think at work there's an unnatural sense of connection that needs to be fostered, and that is just about making that effort to do that. Now, it might just be that if that's not your cup of tea or your coffee, is that you maybe book in an extra 5 minutes after the end of a meeting. Hey, I just wanted to check in with you and see how things are going, or, how did that thing come about? Or I'm curious because I've always wanted to ask you da-da-da-da-da. And you know what? If you were asked that question, have you got 5 minutes or have you got 15 minutes for a coffee or a virtual coffee, would you say no? Like a grumpy grumpster? No, you would not. You'd say, oh, yeah, sure, I'll afford you the time. No problem. People feel valued when they get asked about themselves, for sure. And then the final way to do it is to think about your values. You might want to look at company values and just say, well, how would saying hello or connecting or smiling or, being welcoming to new recruits, how would that help us with our values? Now, it might be that it might give you that respect sort of thing or inclusivity sort of thing, but it also might help you advance ideas, be more innovative, all the good stuff that are generally put into values in companies. So thinking about your own personal values as well. And one for me is that friendliness. One of my values is being friendly, and so I had a real connection with this topic, as you can tell. And in fact, it reminded me of my one-woman smile policy that I put into place in that same open plan office where those people just had their heads down for whatever reason, and the managers and the leaders weren't any better, really. And one New Year's, I had a sort of resolution moment where I thought, right, I'm just going to sod it. I'm just going to be friendly. I'm just going to go for it. And I started, best foot forward. Day one, Monday, the 4th of January, let's call it. Hello, good morning. Hi, smiling, smiling, smiling. Oh my goodness. And I gamified it for myself, really. I thought I'm going to break down even the hardest, the toughest, the most senior, the most gnarly of the journalists and the producers and the scary people in that office. And I'm going to kill them with kindness, and they will say hello to me back. And that was as far as I got. Now, it did help me actually advance my career, I think, but it was a really slow one, because a few years later, one of those producers came up to me and went, Penny, you know about personal finance, don't you? Because I know that you work on the team at the top there, at the top of the office there. Would you be interested in presenting a Panorama, which is a flagship investigative documentary? Because you know about pensions, don't you? Okay, yes, I'd love to do that. It'd be amazing, right? So, and off we went. And so this is not the most strategic of career policies, I have to say, or career plans. But, it was what I could do at the time. I decided I was going to drive my own bus. I wasn't going to be a passenger anymore, but I was going to try and drive my own bus right through that open plan office. So to recap then, this isn't a lecture on manners. It's fun. It's a practical, reminders about human connection. Yes, and being nicer, sure, common courtesies, but there's real value for the commercial enterprise, for your organisation, when people are more connected. And just starting with hello is a really good place. So if you're interested in discussing the power of hello as a session for your teams or your whole organisation, either online or in person, get in touch and book a no obligation discovery call. Email hello@bitfamous.co.uk. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.